Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to myself, in this session specifically, I am speaking about Source because Source came in unexpectedly and started answering our questions instead of the 25th. So I'm going to start reading here, and this is Lorrayne. In relation to the dark having gone back to their planets and these aliens taking them in, you said that the team of the dark is reptilian. So this is what we mean when we say they've gone back to their planets. And so at a kinship level, that's how they show up, because you already know their essences. That's just the way they show up. Just like we show up as humanoids in the Matrix. And we already said these NPCs look very similar across a whole lot of different planets. Does this mean that our brothers and sisters from the dark now look reptilian on these planets? So they're also imagining their bodies and believing that this is always how they looked, even here on old Earth? Basically, do they remember / believe that on old Earth there were two species of people, humans and reptilians? Or do they think they were under disguise here and looked like us, but they were always reptilian inside? Did any reptilians go to 3D chambers? Me. So no reptilians went to 3D chambers. And the reason is that they look reptilian now and have gone to places, to planets where they look reptilian. This is what we mean by they've gone back to their planets. And now this is one reason they will, so they remember Earth and they think they were in disguise and they never fit in. And this is one reason they will start feeling better about themselves by saying, well, we never belonged there, or we were not the same, and this is why we behaved differently. So they're not going to say, well, because I was a bad person, but it's because I was different. I was a different person. And not only, but now they see that just because you are a reptilian doesn't mean you have to be low vibe, because these other planets, they're not, we said this many times, reptilians are not low vibe. They're not just dark. Yes, they are the team of the dark, but we said many of them are very high vibe. They have very high levels of consciousness. Now, we're going to qualify one more time. We do this every time. Saying high doesn't mean higher or lower, better or worse. We're just saying that we assume here, we have assumed here, that the dark is just these low lives that have no high vibe behaviors of any kind. They're just dark all the time. All of us, I mean, we said this ad infinitum now. All of us have light and dark within us. We are all the same. It's one energy. And so, yes, so they've moved to this planet. The energy is different there, and therefore they behave differently. But they can use this as a reason for themselves to not feel bad about some of their past behavior by saying, we're in a different energetic environment, you see. Doesn't mean we're just bad because we're reptilians and we were doing whatever it was. Look here at all these reptilians, and they are awesome people because they're just like us. So yes, they do remember themselves looking human. So they do remember they were human here. But they think, oh, but we were always reptilian inside. And now we can look the way that we were meant to look. And this will be accepted, again, because they are on an alien planet. So, you know, even from a 3D perspective, you're like, well, this makes sense, right? And again, they've chosen to go with aliens. So clearly they have aligned with that. They wouldn't be shocked. They wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, what's happening? This is not my body anymore. They would be okay with that. They would assume it's a technology that the aliens have for them to actually be able to see who they truly were. And a lot of these people, they already knew. They already knew because, you know, even in the conspiracy circles, we know, we talk about reptilians. We know this is how they, or who they are, we should say. Lorrayne. Okay, next question. We are Source, but somehow Source seems to have a different consciousness type from ours, because Source is aware of all the games simultaneously and creates multiple games at the same time, while we're only aware of ours and not privy to the other ones. Is there really no difference between us and Source? Is this just a choice we make to only be aware of one game? And if so, why? Is the 25th just another perspective of reality that implies separation from Source? Like when we think of ourselves in the Matrix as individuals, even though this is not the ultimate truth of who we are? Me, Source. So this is one of the reasons, and Source was laughing here, I took court today, we shall say, so you can see, you can witness that I am the 25th. I am you. There is no you in individual form. These are just perspectives. It just depends on the reality that I'm focused on. So when I've spoken to you as the 25th, and we have already encountered this before, there was a time when Clea had a plant experience and she was told some information. And then in the following session, she was told that information by the 25th, saying, we told you that this is what happened. And Clea was freaked out. She said, what do you mean? You didn't tell me. Source told me. Well, guess what? And Source was laughing again. And the 25th said it. The 25th said, well, we are Source. We have been telling you this, that we are one. And this is the thing. We got into this little comfortable conversation here during these sessions where we have played this game of little Clea, little Lorraine, having these conversations, and we are now connecting to the 25th, which is good because at least it's outside the matrix. So we're not just getting dream information. And Source was chuckling. We're actually getting information about what it is. And it's good. And of course, it's good. We said, I've been saying how paramount this entire experience has been, how wonderful this experience is, and what a huge difference is going, what a huge impact it has on everything else. So of course, it's good. But today I decided that I am no longer going to play even this game to where it looks like there is separation between us and the 25th, between the 25th and myself, Source. There is no separation. That's why I came in. So yes, that answers this question. And so, yeah, I mean, I am 25th. So we like to keep these pickets among groups, among perspectives. Okay, now I'm looking at things from this level, and that level. So there is no difference. When I focus on the 25th, I'm aware of things from that perspective. Just like when I focus on Clea, I'm aware of things from that perspective. And now I can do all of this, and I do all of this at the same time. I don't have to switch my focus. And so because of this, all these different perspectives, all these different experiences are running concurrently. And therefore, it's just a matter of what point of view, really, it's a point of view. What point of view are we talking from? So I'm aware of everything I have created. When I focus on the 25th, I'm focused on one thing, which is this particular dream that I've created in this particular, again, quote unquote, section of my creation. So in that sense, the 25th, if we are asking the 25th what it's aware of, when I am there, I am only aware of one aspect of what I've created. Whereas at this level, I can see everything I've created. And so it is not a different consciousness. There is no different type of consciousness. This is my consciousness. Lorraine, we are so funny. Okay. Me, Source, was laughing. I am funny. I'm very funny. I enjoy this. Lorraine, yes, I used the royal we, and Source was just cracking up at this point. Lorraine is hilarious. Anyway, Lorraine, okay, next question. Are we using the Middle East situation where we're three scare as a cover-up for the recall so the NPCs are distracted while it happens? What is going on with that situation anyway? Me. So we have said that the signal is close. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen while this so-called Middle East crisis is happening. This is just, again, just a program running that we keep running at this level because we have no intention of redoing anything. And we are focused on much bigger things right now. And so, no, it doesn't mean that the recall will happen during this. This will fizzle out. And again, depends on when we feel ready is when we will have the signal, but we are getting close. So no, it's not being used as an excuse to cover up what's happening. Now, obviously, we always experience at this level. We always experience the gaslighting, all of it. Whatever is coming from television is gaslighting. Now, those are lies. The Source was laughing. Let us express ourselves in clear terms. Those are lies. We have said many times, you know how we have said, you know when we say that we lie to ourselves. We don't mean it with a negative connotation by saying it's a bad thing. There is no such thing. We pretend. This is the name of the game. And when we talk about the news, with people coming up and telling you something, they say this is what it is. Those are lies. Those are actual lies. It's part of the game we play, but they know they're lying. Clea thinks of it as like watching a movie. I mean, it's a plot. That's all it is. Doesn't mean it's real. And so that's what's happening with this entire situation. So eventually they'll move on to the next thing and then the next thing, because we're keeping that in place. Because again, we have no interest in changing it. And so the recall might or might not happen while this is happening. When we say it's getting close, we've also said that even though the resistance is almost completely gone at this point, there is still resistance. And all that means is that we're not quite ready yet. Now, are we ready? No, Lorraine, you're thinking, well, I'm ready. The fact is, if you look in individual terms, again, personality, some of us are absolutely ready. Claire's also ready. She could go today. She could go next week. She's ready. She's got nothing else that she's trying to accomplish here. At the same time, I, as my group experience here, as my collective experience here, and we've explained before, there is no collective in the sense that every individual has complete autonomy. Again, I mean it as in my collected focus here. I am not ready. The energy is developing. The energy is getting to the point of the recall, but not quite yet. Because what is the point? The point is this information, while it has percolated, it has to be allowed to be received fully in certain ways so that we can again change everything. We have already changed everything. The information is there. Even if we change our minds and decided not to do certain things anymore, it will still change all the games. But we talked about the fact that we want the games changed as if they were changed at 3D level, at an observable level. Even though, again, we said in the previous question, it doesn't make any sense because technically you have the recall, but then the planet gets annihilated. And you're like, well, was that a victory, right? But that's not the point. The point is, it doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to look a certain way. So we're not ready quite yet for that action to happen, for that signal to be launched, because we're setting ourselves up, again, emotionally. This is emotional work we are doing. We're setting ourselves up for when we are ready for that. So we can move on, which right now we do want to move on after that is accomplished. It doesn't mean, and we believe there's a question coming up about this, it doesn't mean that there will be no time at a 3D level between recall and us leaving for New Earth. It doesn't mean we hear it on the radio and then we're gone. But it does mean that right now, it doesn't look like we want to stay here for what we are experiencing as another extended length of time to do another project. But it will still take time for us to wrap our minds, our emotions really at this level around the idea of the takedown, even though we feel ready, many of us, if you're thinking in individual terms, we feel ready. We're like, okay, well, we're done here. So right now, it doesn't look like we're going to do another project after the recall. Lorraine, you are quite funny. I am quite funny. Me, myself, and I are quite funny. And Source was laughing. Because in this last answer, you described yourself, and then you described yourself as separate, meaning you, I, meaning as the singularity, don't have emotional needs. Yet you refer to us as individuals that have emotional needs. Very confusing, I just have to say. Source. So that's a good point. Now, we did explain it earlier in the session that personality is just a variability. It's something that makes the game interesting. And when we have said, if we focus on ourselves as individuals at this perspective level, we do have different personalities. And this is something that is observably true. And so these personalities, which are interesting, mean that what it means is that at a 3D level, the information, because this is how we're experiencing the energy, right? It's coming in as information, whether it's being spoken or unspoken, it's still coming in as information. This form of energy, this energy that's coming in, this new knowledge that's coming in. And so this information at a 3D level, at this level of perspective, where we do believe that we are separate, which is very funny, creates, of course, it's going to create ripples. And it's going to be absorbed in different ways, accepted or rejected in different ways, depending on the type of personality. So this is why I say, when I focus with my collective group of individuals that I'm focusing on, the leftover group that I'm focusing on this planet, because that's the thing, right? I'm not focusing on the ones that we are now calling the NPCs. That's why they're NPCs. When we say the higher self is gone, I'm not focusing on them. That's what it is. I am the higher self, if we want to call ourselves that. And he was laughing. And so when we look at individual level, then what we are calling needs, which of course I have no needs, but what we are calling needs, we are just using human terms to say that some things are going to be more or less acceptable at a conscious level to different people, depending on the personality. So we hope this is more clear. It doesn't mean that I am separate. There is nobody, there is nothing outside of me. But when I focus on this reality or on this perspective, because it is what it is, it's not a reality, it's a perspective. When I'm focused on this section we call the quote unquote of reality, then the point is that I forget myself. I forget who I am because I want to have this very limited perspective so that I may enjoy a different experience. I enjoy a different experience when I focus on Lorraine. I enjoy a different experience when I focus on Claire. I enjoy a different experience when I focus on Carolyn. This is the beauty of it. This is why this happens. Every time I focus on a different drop, I enjoy a different experience. The difference now is that this information that has percolated is not avoidable. Whether you at a 3D level even know it or not, you have the information because I know it. And because it is what it is happening. The energy is changing. The energy is accelerating. And so whether a separation level, you know, this pretend separation we have between one drop and the other, I might remember it or not that I am the one. Now I'm making it clear to the ones that I'm focusing on. They're consciously aware of this information having come in from the 25th, from myself. I'm making it clear that I'm not going to forget anymore. But right now, we are not done. I'm not done with this experience because at a 3D level, at a separation appearance level, I need certain things. I want certain things. The energy is creating certain things that require more integration. Basically, the rule needs to be firmly in place. And for this new rule to be in place, if you wish, if we want to go back to our analogy on the board games, we require more integration, just a little bit more integration. Basically, if you want to look at it from a separation perspective, which again is just a pretense, but if you want to look at it from a separation perspective, you need a few more of your buddies to come online who are already aware of this information and say, fine, I'm ready to move on. So there is a need from an individual perspective. The individual is not real and the need is not real. And Source was laughing. I have no need and I have no individuality. I am one. But when we are talking from this dimension, from this perspective, from this focus manifestation, then of course, these are the words we use. We do have emotional needs because we have personalities. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you as always for watching. I'll see you in the next one.